Oh yeah, again, I don't think that communication skills and charisma have to be tied together, right? Like, meaning you can be a good communicator and not be charismatic, right? I can think of a million people who are far from charismatic, but you're like, dang. Like Jordan Peterson, I wouldn't put Jordan in a charismatic context. That's not what I'd label him as, but Jordan is an excellent communicator, right? And so they are distinguishable. I'd say Tate is more in charismatic.
I would agree with that.
But they're both good communicators, right?
Right.
And so, but they both get the outcomes. The one has a different flavor to their communication. One, Jordan is more serious. Tate is more Tate, right?
Please dissect Jordan. I think that's a good example because what came to mind first when you said that, I'm thinking about his clips, and there are times where he breaks off from the information he's saying and says a joke, and people laugh.
Right.
And at the same time, I'm thinking too, but is he charismatic?
Nah. You know when he goes to Jordan, it's like, well, you know.
Exactly.
That's not like, hey, that's a charismatic motherfucker. Yeah. That's not what you think.
He's got delivery, though. He's got delivery. But he's got that communication.
That maybe Tate couldn't, or Tate could influence people to do that Jordan couldn't. People being, I guess we could say all people, but charisma versus non-charisma were two great communicators. What's the real payoff of Tate being perceived as charismatic? Is it causing him to move a different demographic? Is it you know what I mean? Like, what's the real payoff of one having it over the other?
Charisma will attract both male and female energies.
And so you're saying Jordan is less likely to attract a female audience because he's just, the style of communication is different.
He's less likely to attract both. I don't know. It depends on who he's targeting. If he's a good communicator and he's targeting men, that's who he's going to attract. If he's a good communicator and targeting women, that's who he's going to attract. That's who he's marketing himself toward. But if he's charismatic, doesn't matter who he targets, both will fall in.
I see.
I would say Jordan. I could see Jordan Peterson getting society to move on fact of the U.S. or Western society is going to be looking like the Asia if we don't get this fixed in relation. Like, he could break down the facts that this is why we need to repair the family dynamic. This is how it's infecting society. That education he would hit the broader and get, and would be more effective. I see, about appropriately so, Andrew Tate would get his followers and believers to like sell their soul for him, like be online for whatever business, wherever he puts them towards, getting it, only the people that like him though. It's so polarizing where that would say the charisma is, for that example, because it is so polarizing. Those who can't hear his message, don't like him, don't care for him. He would not get the mass to get behind it, because it's not going to be in the education. It's the entertaining. If I'm not entertained, well, fuck off.
Well, it is important. Like that last piece, I think, is just layering on charisma by its nature is polarizing, right? And so, I mean, if you think of all the people you mentioned, the Hitlers, the Trumps, the Tates, within charisma is the unapologetically sort of, and in that you, by definition, have to kind of part the sea. Whereas with Jordan, if he's just focusing on like the facts, so to speak, is the only problem is if you disagree with the facts versus, I mean, you can go after Jordan. There's always going to be that, but as you said, like in a real state of crisis, are people in, well, Jordan had said that one thing, like in real crisis, right? Like people will, well, this is a time for moving forward, you know, and people are very likely to listen from a, what he's saying makes sense. That's how they're listening. Whereas Tate is like, if we're saying we should all move forward, it's like, fuck you, bro. You know, it's more.
Are you saying charisma, by definition, is polarizing?
I think it's always going to polarize, yes.
Charisma will always polarize.
Yeah.
And I would say, to that, the caveat, where the charisma is still valued or honored, is that even those that are pushed off, there's still the back end of the shadow side of likeness to see a human being fully express and not give a fuck.
For sure.
Because you will always hear, but I gotta respect him.
Gotta
I don't like what
respect
he's saying,
Yeah.
but I can
I
respect
don't agree
where
with
that's
him, but I
coming
respect him. That's why I don't think charisma has to be polarizing. I look at, from a presidential perspective, your John F. Kennedys, your Bill Clintons, your Obamas. Now, don't get me wrong. There will always, just because you're not polarizing doesn't mean everybody's going to like you or agree with you.
So how do you know
But
polarizing?
Polarizing to me means, by definition, you're pushing people away consciously. Like, you're making an effort to push people away.
I don't think so. If you're standing on your rock, you're going to polarize. Unless you're not. I see what you're saying, and when I think of, unless the person is intentionally trying to not stand too firmly on a position with the aim of galvanizing.
If the goal is to bring
possible.
everybody together, then you're not going to get everybody. I'm not saying you will at all.
That's not even what I'm saying. I mean, because let's say we use Bill Clinton's polarizing. I mean, charisma versus Tate's. Like Tate stands on his square, like religiously, right? And so when you're that kind of,
correct,
you know what I mean? Like it's
when you're
different.
rigid, you're going to be polarizing. It has nothing to do with charisma. It has to do with how firmly you are standing
Fair
on
enough.
your spot.
I can see your point on that.
You know, it's if you can be charismatic and trying to talk to everybody, and I mean, and there's an opposite of that too, where you're just completely ineffective because you can't please everybody. But yeah, Donald Trump is polarizing because he stands very firmly, unmovingly on a particular spot.
I'd have to think more on that, but I can see how, like when I think of I wasn't around for Bill Clinton, and to see the actual, right? Because people can go in 20 years in the future. Oh, Trump was the last Clinton, like the way
Right.
depending on who you were talking to. So I don't know, but I can think of a style of communication where nobody's coming to mind, but a more let's all get along sort of style of charisma. Again, I wish I could think of somebody.
I'm trying to think
but
of somebody
I
too in the entertainment world or someplace.
I mean, yeah, I could see, but even then, again, it's who you talk
Kobe
to.
Bryant, he was very non-polarizing. Michael Jordan, very non-polarizing.
I'd say Kobe was on his square like a motherfucker, but it was on, I think, for things that, looking back, most people can respect. But I don't know if in the moment.
And I think that's just it. People respect. Well, fair enough. Oh, yeah. So yeah, there were some parts where he was definitely polarizing. He made choices unapologetically. He made choices that people did not get behind. I still don't know if I'd say that was as polarizing as much as it was an entire city of people just didn't agree with his choices. Because most people outside of the people who were directly affected still had mad respect for Kobe. Even the people in the city still had mad respect for Kobe. And that's what made them mad.
And with that, we got episode 4 in the bag. Any closing thoughts, gentlemen? Like, subscribe, notification bell. Stay tuned. Check out the last episodes. Highlights being shared. Any closing thoughts, fellas?
That was a delightful podcast.
Charming discussion.
I hope my mommy sees this. That's all I gotta say.